Welcome to Seltzer Squad, the podcast about staying sober in the city, with your hosts, Kate Sander and Jess Valentine.
Jess, what do people do if they want more Seltzer Squad?
Oh, well, it's pretty easy. All they have to do is become a Patreon.
Patreon? A patron? A Patronus?
A patron on our Patreon.
If you want to be a Princess FOMO, you'll get early access to our episodes every Wednesday instead of Friday. If you want to subscribe to our middle tier, Former Hot Mess, you will receive the bonus monthly audio episode and early access to episodes. And if you indeed are the slickest bitch around, you will get early access, monthly bonus episodes, and you will be able to see all of our episodes now in video format.
This is truly a labor of love, and we want to keep it going. So help support us at patreon.com/Seltzer Squad.
Jess, what's our number one piece of advice when people are getting sober?
Therapy.
So much therapy that I'm going to school to be a giver of therapy.
This is true.
BetterHelp reached out to partner with us at the Seltzer Squad to offer 10% off a monthly membership to BetterHelp.com.
What is BetterHelp.com?
BetterHelp is an online therapy platform that is for individuals, for couples. You take a short quiz, you get matched up with a mental health professional, and you, through the app, are able to video, or you can just message back and forth with a licensed professional to give you counseling and guidance on anything and everything that you're going through.
So how do our listeners use our code?
You just go to betterhelp.com/Seltzer Squad and you'll receive 10% off your first month. Hello, Jessica.
Hello, Kate. How are you today?
I am well. If you're on video, you can see it's the most wonderful time of year.
It's beanie
For
weather.
me, it's anytime it gets below 60 degrees, I am wearing a hat.
Wait, is it below 60?
Yeah, girl, it's been like 55 all week. I was like,
It's
TJ,
63
winter
on
is
my
here.
end.
Listen,
Weird.
I make the rules around here, okay?
Okay, that's fair.
All
I
right.
mean, I'm here for that.
You texted me earlier about an alternative recovery, and I
Okay.
want to talk about it. So tell me
Yes.
what you found, and then I'll tell you what I Googled. So again, we are not
Okay.
licensed professionals, nor are we really a credible source in any way, shape, or form.
Well, especially when you hear how I found out about this. Okay, so I was watching a show on Netflix called Midnight Mass.
All right.
I don't know if you'll heard of this.
Wait, what's
but
that about?
it's- I'm still trying to figure it out. It's about like a small town. It's spooky vibes. It's made by the same dude who did House on Haunted Hill and The Bly Manor.
Mhm.
So it's got a lot of the same people in it. And I don't know. I'm only like halfway into it, but basically it's about like a new priest comes to town and blah blah blah. But
Is
the
it crime?
very first, it's
Crimey?
supposed to be spooky.
Okay.
And the very first scene, this is not really a spoiler because it's setting us up.
Okay.
There's a dude and he was drunk driving and he hit a girl and she died. Yeah. So right at the gate, I'm like, oh, okay. Triggering.
Jesus.
And so he goes to jail for like whatever, manslaughter or whatever
Mhm.
for like 4 to 10 years.
That's
And
Fuck. Anyway.
I think he only served 4 years, but it was such a short, it was like before the credits. Like it was like he hit the girl, she's dead. He goes to jail.
Oh, okay.
And then it cuts to 4 years later or whatever, when he's getting out and has to go back home and all this stuff. So basically it's already, this guy has substance abuse issues, yada, yada, yada. And they're on this
Like all of us,
island.
yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. You know that game. They like live on this like remote island. So he's mandated for his probation to go to AA, as you do. And the thing is, like, he went into jail really religious and then came out atheist or agnostic or whatever. So he does the AA because it's like mandated, but he doesn't believe in God or anything like that. Anyway, the new pastor, father, whatever, he's like, well, I can start a chapter here, so you don't have to go to the mainland, but it's just going to be us. So it's just like the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like shows them in AA. And so they have the conversation because it's one-on-one, and he's like, yeah, I don't believe in God because why would all this bad stuff happen,
Mhm.
you know, etc. And so he starts telling the priest that he believes in rational recovery.
Mm.
I have never heard of this. It's a real thing. Have you heard of this?
Not
Before I mention
not
it?
until you mentioned it. So I have their wiki pulled up so I can like
That's
speak
what
to it
I
lightly.
also have
Yeah.
their wiki pulled up. Yeah, so basically it's like a complete counterpart to AA,
Mhm.
which is very interesting because it's like the complete opposite. It started in like 1986, so it hasn't been around like that long. It's younger than me. But basically, I'll read some of the wiki. It's it's supposed to be like material related to counseling, guidance, and direct instruction of addiction, designed as a direct counterpart to AA and 12-step programs. It was founded in 1986 by Jack Trimpe, a California licensed clinical social worker. He's a recovered alcoholic who works in the field of alcoholism and other drug addictions. And basically, the comparison to AA is that
I thought this
they
part was
both
interesting.
how they both promote abstinence. Yes, I know
Mhm.
exactly what you're talking about. And rational recovery repeats claims that there is no better time to construct a big plan to
Mm.
abstain from drinking than now, while AA is like take it one day at a time. And so it's very different.
So what do you take that as? Like to me that just means more planning. Like the one day at a time is just kind of like we're taking it as it is, and the big plan is kind of
I think it's just the whole mental like programming your brain. Like, no, I don't drink. I'm not a drinker. And then you just like that's the plan for like the long haul. Like you don't have to worry about the day after tomorrow.
like more Alan Carr vibes.
Yeah, I get. But again, like this is like the first I've heard of it, and it's saying how AA proposes that you're never going to drink again, then there isn't a reason to track the time. So I guess with rational recovery, they don't count days because it's like, well, what are you counting days for? You're just never going to drink. Like,
do you agree with
you're
that?
never.
I mean, how do you feel about it? I guess
I don't. I mean, I kind of agree with it because I have the counter on my app just to know, but it's like, what is the point? Besides from like celebrating milestones.
Yeah.
What is the point of counting days? Some people are just counting days to their next relapse.
I think for me, it brings a sense of accomplishment. Like when I, at the beginning, I was like so proud, 6 days, 10 days, 30 days, 90 days, so that was very much like I was hanging on perhaps in that one day at a time mentality.
Like getting
but
to
then now I look at it and I still have it going. And I look at like, wow, like it's such a solid sense of accomplishment of all the time that's passed and all that I've done in that time.
Yeah.
So I like,
and it is like a good thing to look forward to. Like, oh, I'm going to hit 90 days soon. Like that's
what am I going to do? What am I going to like, how am I going to reward myself?
Yeah. Like I like the milestone part of counting days, but like, I have no idea what day I'm at.
Right.
I met a girl once and she's like, how many days are you? And I'm like, I have no idea. She's like, yes, you do. I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I don't think like that. But obviously everyone's different and there's no like one size fits all. But
part of my recovery too at the, I think like out of the, baby phase was that if I focused on the day count too much, it was daunting. Like then the forever thing felt very palpable and discouraging.
It's daunting. It's a big,
So then it was again, like if you could kind of like move it to a different part of your mind and check in every once in a while, it was like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm like killing it over here, Yeah,
I think that like if I was just starting out, I would definitely be counting days.
Sure.
But like now a couple years removed, it's like I don't count days, right? Because I've hit the milestones for the most part, like the little ones. But then again, like this is us just reading off Wikipedia. Sure. Who knows how they implement their thoughts and stuff? Let's
I
read
think the line that says that they rational recovery does not regard alcoholism as a disease, but rather a voluntary behavior. Feels like shots fired a bit. Like I can like see that both ways.
I see it both ways, but
it's like it is a voluntary behavior, but then it also breaks your brain, like in some way, you know?
Yes, I would like to like learn more about their thought process behind this, but I've also never truly felt right in saying that my alcoholism is a disease.
Do you think
And
that
we've had
your
conversations
addictive
about this.
personality is a disease? Disease is such a hard, I guess
That's
where,
exactly right.
but I
don't like the
definitely
word-
know that I have like an extremely addictive personality. So the
As do I,
alcoholism
but
makes sense.
It's like, to me, it's belittles people with actual diseases.
Sure.
But I understand that there's like mental diseases rather than
Yes.
physical diseases, but I don't know. It's hard because
I also think you and I were very fortunate enough in our alcoholism that I was never physically dependent on it to like, I was not drinking in the morning. So I think that's also, you know, as they say, it's like a progressive disease. So you and I were fortunate enough to be not as progressed in the spiral of addiction, though our lives became unmanageable, you know?
I've drank in the morning a few times, well, morning with quotations, but because I was so hungover that I wanted to, you know, hair the dog. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's tricky no matter what, like, right? Like it says like it's a voluntary behavior. It is 100% a voluntary behavior, but when does it become not? Like,
I know.
3 drinks in and you're like, well, now I have to keep I don't know. Like it's hard to, who knows? Okay. Rational recovery discourages adoption of the forever recovering drunk persona. And it says to show precisely how we have recovered. So I don't know if this is from AA or whatever, but recovering drunk. So that's interesting too.
I don't know. I like this one I think that you're forever just a shitty alcoholic. It can again be daunting. Yeah. Like to me, it infers shame. So I'm like, it makes me feel bad. But now that I kind of think about, you know, being in recovery as, I guess, more of a maintenance, I don't place as much emphasis on, like my next relapse is right around the corner, which I think is like kind of the mentality that AA can keep you in, is like,
it's
your
like
sneaky addiction is gonna, you know, pop out. And although I think there's validity to that, I think that, you know, in the new wave of sobriety, we're sort of not recovered, but it's definitely feels less negative than previous.
Yeah, it's definitely more positive. That's one thing that always like, I don't know, bothered me is like, oh, I'm an alcoholic. It's like you're an alcoholic whether you're actively drinking and whether you're not. Like I always thought that was weird. I'm like, well, you're not an alcoholic anymore if you're not drinking. But again, this is like
the
a
labels
lot of
thing.
Gray area. So that's why I think people nowadays have more gravitated towards the term I'm in recovery. But yeah, it's like, when have you recovered?
I don't know. Yeah. Do you
Are you
feel
just
recovered
always
in
in
your
limbo?
sobriety right now?
Oh, no. No, because there's still times when I like want a drink, but it's never really because I'm like, I want to get drunk. It's always like around it. Like I miss the taste of margaritas or like this or that. Like there's been a couple times I'm like, I never want to be drunk, but I like the happy feeling that I get from like a drink and a half, if that makes sense. So I'm always chasing that dragon. But
it's interesting.
I think I'm closer to being recovered than not, though, for sure. Do you feel recovered?
I feel more recovered than not now, because I think for the majority of my sobriety, I was really missing the part of drinking that helped me escape hard feelings. And I think now I'm better at processing harder feelings in a healthy way versus escaping them. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm still like escaping through other coping mechanisms, but
Sure.
I
Healthier.
really used to like miss checking out. And like when things felt like too much, that's when I missed drinking the most because it just quieted all of the noise. And also just then I could divert the chaos to like another, avenue. So I don't feel all the way healed because I think in my, I guess, more recent years of sobriety, it's just uncovered all the other ways I wasn't recovered in other areas from addictive things. So that's the part that I think I agree with is like I'm always going to be in recovery, and it might not necessarily be from alcohol, but I will always be, mindful of the fact that addiction and addictive things for me can be harmful and a means for me to escape. So I guess, no, I don't think that I will ever be recovered, but I do feel mostly recovered from drinking alcohol.
Hey, Kate, what's another way that the squad can help support the podcast?
In addition to just listening or signing up to our Patreon, y'all can shop our online merch store, which has a variety of different sober treats from mugs to sweatshirts to tanks and tees.
Everything.
All of our signature sayings are all over our sober merch. So visit seltzersquadshop.com and check it out.
Treat yourself to something sober while supporting the pod.
And you have 5 years now, right?
Yeah, almost 6.
That's so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So this part kind of sucks is that there's no rational recovery like groups.
Yes.
Apparently meetings were held like in the 90s. I don't know why they like have ended or something.
Yeah, that's weird.
Something I feel like it's just like a total like independent thing. But then like, is there a book? Like,
yeah, I mean, it says that the facilities base their programs on the success of rational emotive behavior therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy. So that's therapy. So I guess that's the one-on-one experience. But I also think, I think the reason why AA is so powerful is because it does connect people, and there isn't the, barrier of privilege to only those that have access to money for therapy. So I think that I would say that that's a major con, in my opinion, is like, the only reason we started the podcast was to connect with other people, and so that other people could connect with other people. It's weird, that they wouldn't have some sort of means to create support around that.
Yeah, I'm trying to read about like their meetings being canceled. 98. So they all got canceled, and it says they will not be rescheduled again. It's a waste of time and it's completely unproductive.
That's so weird to me. I think like the meetings are the jam. I
know.
Consider like us talking kind of my meeting,
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Futility and substance abuse treatment warrants further assessment. The results of the impact of this type of recovery are too few to make an educational assumption. This research was conducted before Rational Recovery disbanded their meetings in favor of self-recovery treatment. Smart Recovery split from Rational Recovery. Oh, so Smart Recovery, which we've also heard of, but I don't know a lot about, stems from Rational Recovery. And I think those do have meetings.
Yes.
So that's interesting because I feel like that's what a lot of people need is like the fellowship, like the going and being around other people like you. I don't know. I just find it very interesting because I don't like AA. I mean, I think it's great
the
for the
religious
people that
thing.
do need it.
Yeah.
It's 100% for me, the religious thing. The fact
maybe
that
we're
it's
like
it's
actually
sexist.
smart recovery, rational recovery people, and we didn't know it this whole time. Because we've been like therapy touting, evangelists this whole time.
I don't like AA. Everyone knows that unless they're new to this program. I don't
this
like
podcast program.
This podcast. Yeah, I realized I said that. I'm like, that's wrong.
Thanks for tuning into our program.
It's sexist. It's outdated. It's shame. I feel like it's very shaming and it's so God heavy. And I know that people can like wrap their minds around higher power being something else or God being a group of drugs. I can't do that. It's not for me. But I do think it serves its purpose. And I've gotten I think that it's great for
Agree.
many reasons. It's just not for me. So I always like learning about alternatives. So I'd like to learn more about this rational recovery and smart recovery, because we still haven't even done an episode on that, which is kind of surprising. I guess it's because then we have to do research. And I don't
I'm
wanna
really
do
excited
that.
to take addiction courses in school, because I'm wondering what they will say in regards to these different modalities, and like how
Yeah.
pervasive the AA culture will be in that, because it seems like smart recovery was a derivative of this rational recovery, and it says smart recovery is based on scientific knowledge and is intended to evolve as scientific knowledge evolves. So I'm into that because, I think the one size fits all of AA, I think, is obviously why many people are drawn to alternative recoveries, i.e. our podcast and other things. Sure. And as we're learning more about the brain and addiction in general, it would be silly to not think that there are offer other ways that could possibly be just as helpful. And just like culturally, the one size fits model of the world isn't working in so many corners and ways.
So many aspects.
Yeah. So I'm here for that.
If anyone, go ahead.
I wonder if it's just like the self-efficacy or the self-treatment thing. I think I have the biggest problem with, because I don't think often you can do this without help. I definitely couldn't have gotten sober without help, through therapists, through friendship, through, even the meetings that I went to in the beginning.
Well, it's saying to seek out
counseling and materially. So I don't think it's about, I think it's just saying how you put everything in your hands, not God's hands, not a higher power. I think that's just the differentiate.
That makes sense.
You know what I'm trying to say. I can't speak. And that's another problem that I always had with like AA, was how it's like admitting that I'm not, I have no willpower or whatever. And it's like, but I do. I'm like, that's why I'm fucking doing the work. Like, no one else has the power. No higher power has the power over me. I have the power over me. I just feel like so many times when like good things happen, we're like, oh my God, God is good. And like, thank God. And then when something shitty happens, it's like, well, it just wasn't in God's plan. It's like, no, girl, no. But I don't want to get like all into like my religious or anti-religious beliefs. But to me, how I interpret that is that you're not putting your faith in a higher power. You're putting your faith in yourself.
Yeah.
And that's how I've always gone about my recovery. So I'm here for that.
Yeah. It likely encourages accountability,
Yeah. If any of y'all have done rational recovery or know anything about it, or you want to tell us your experiences, please send us an email, because I know that we'd be, email us at seltzersquadpod@gmail.com and just put like in the subject line, rational recovery.
Side note, if you are a person listening that just wants to drop a link to your treatment center, don't email us.
Oh my gosh. Yes, please don't do that. We have so many emails.
We cannot vet every single program and don't necessarily feel comfortable.
All right. I love you.
I love you.
That
was interesting. So Murder Mass, Midnight Mass, what's it called?
Midnight Mass on Netflix.
Midnight Mass on Netflix is where we can also get a recovering alcoholic crime.
Watch Midnight Mass.
And then
it just came
Rational
out.
Recovery. I'll have to check that out more. Until we meet again, Jessica.
Be nice to yourself, Kate.
Don't forget, hangovers suck.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Every review helps other listeners find us. Music by Dead Go West. Art by Kate Sander. For show notes and resources, check out seltzersquad.com.